Hello everybody, it is me, Game Penguin 21, and today we have a specialty one. So this video was one that I happened to find when I was going through AndyPants' things, and it is titled Four Developers Cancelled by Woke Culture from AndyPants Gaming. Now, I found this, and I thought that it would be really cool that if I were to torture someone else with this for a nice Christmas present and a nice beginning to our year. So...
Yep, hello. You already know who I am, it's Sandy. And
Yeah.
this time, I think, with the new mic.
Yes.
The fat bitch is back. The fat bitch is back.
Yeah, we have a couple other people in here, but Sanity's the main one. We also have Neil as well, who might be providing some stuff. But
Neil the supersizer.
yeah, so I've taken a look at about a couple of these stories, and my goodness, is this going to be quite the weird one.
And the only thing that I know is that he brings up fucking Notch, and I can't wait to see his Notch blazing.
4 different developers, and I've only taken a look at about 2 of them, and I knew that like this, if I didn't torture someone else with this, I would the symbol monkeys in my brain would just they'd want blood.
I like the reference to symbol monkeys. That's funny.
Anyway, without further ado, let's get started.
Imagine you started a video game company 17 years ago, worked your butt off, and eventually became the CEO of Tripwire Interactive. Now imagine, outside of company time, you went on your personal Twitter and said, "Hey, Texas passed a law that means less children are going to be murdered next year. That's kind of cool." Turns out the feminist fatties who work at your company and are incapable of keeping their legs closed didn't like that very much. "I need to be able to kill my baby anytime I want," they gobbled while eating cookies. In case you forgot, 2021 was a dark time, and it seems these loose purple-haired women were able to band together and put enough pressure on Reddit to force the CEO of Tripwire to resign from the very company he spent 17 years building. In this video, I want to look at 4 such stories where a developer was ousted or canceled.
Okay, hang on. I already have to pause here because there's just...
Yeah.
There's so much to try and dissect right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I feel like if I were to try and dissect it, we would probably be here for the next 15 minutes as I try to explain why every single thing that he just said is probably some of the dumbest shit I think I've ever heard. Five Nights at Freddy's!
Oh,
hey,
yeah, I didn't notice that. He didn't actually spell it correctly. Ha!
Mother,
that
is... doesn't know how to spell!
That is
funny. Have a very woke Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about that intro specifically because the way that he explains it is super disingenuous. I've seen a little bit of that actual story, and to not get political, I have my own opinions on whether or not a person chooses or whether or not a person doesn't choose, but if you remember the timeline of events, the timeline was that Texas passed a law on abortion stuff, and it ended up like causing this whole big divide on like the person's right to choose and a person's right to blah blah blah. And I've already made my opinions clear. Like, having the option is better than not having the option, in my opinion, which is just really funny. I think I know the Oculus story as well as the story about Scott Cawthon. Because all of these are pretty famous ones, but like, I just wanted to point that out. Like,
Scott didn't do anything wrong, though. Scott didn't do anything wrong. All he did was just donate to certain charities.
Yeah.
And
Scott, at the very worst, was just really ill-informed, and that's really about all.
Yeah, Notch, on the other hand. Let's get into this.
If he were to fall into the pits of hell tomorrow, I would not shed a single tear.
All right.
I would be fucking laughing maniacally.
Okay. Anyway.
For having a differing political view on their personal social media.
Hey, look, it's one of like the 2 images that they always use.
Level of hypocrisy that is going on at these Western, usually American development studios. Go on Blue Sky and celebrate the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Announce you hate white people and you will only be hiring black people. Celebrate the murder of a CEO. You will be met with applause and accolades from everyone at EA, Activision, and Microsoft. But go on the internet and say, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't murder babies anymore." Oof, now you've done it. Guys, this is why I say the rot is simply too deep at American game development studios. They simply need to be torched at this point, and channels like mine
That's
are the
what
match.
Hitler did, you
Before we
fucking
talk about
moron.
game devs canceled by the woke crowd, I wanted to tell you guys about a...
Okay, I'm gonna skip this portion because this is the sponsored section of it.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about whatever the hell he's shilling for.
Yeah, so the movie that he is actually shilling for in this content is a video on a movie on a dude who essentially he strained every single relationship that he had in order to try to become famous. Essentially, that's like super simplistic and like very bad of an explanation, but that's the explanation I got off of the actual internet and like the official IMDb pages and stuff. So yeah, but like,
damn, sounds a lot like the anti-woke crowd. They strain every single possible relationship that they could have, just that way they could be famous by spewing hatred.
Yeah,
it's real funny how he would relate to this.
Yeah, he wasn't spewing hatred. The person in the movie was actually just a skateboarder who wanted to be like a famous skateboarder, and he did the same thing to like his family and other stuff. And again, we talked about this, but it has a 5.9 on IMDb or like a rating system or whatever. We found that somewhere.
It's like really middle of the road or something.
Yeah.
Who always wears this fedora, but he created a little game called Minecraft in 2009. Maybe you've heard of it. You can play it on a refrigerator screen. When asked how Notch came up with the idea, he points to Infiniminer and Dwarf Fortress as the two biggest inspirations. The game being talked about a lot on 4chan and the modding community around it helped the game become insanely popular in 2011 when it launched. By 2014, Notch had sold 15 million copies of the game, and so Microsoft shows up with dump truck money trying to buy it. They offered him $2.5 billion cash for his game. Notch takes the money, ends up buying a $60 million house in Beverly Hills, and rides off into the sunset. But this is where things get interesting. Notch has enough money to buy a country, so he's pretty much untouchable and can say whatever he wants now. And it turns out the dude is based. Referring to the mental illness known as being trans,
yeah, I know, he's so
celebrating
based.
effing body dysphoria. Make it illegal to use the wrong pronouns. They are the ones using the wrong pronouns. Effing hell. In 2019, he said this: "You are absolutely evil if you want to encourage delusion." What happens to not stigmatizing mental illness? There is no love in pretense. There is no you when you appease. Dude is ultra based, calling out being trans for the evil mental illness that it is.
Based.
Yeah, of course he literally just straight up calls like ignorant hatred as based. And I think if I remember correctly, didn't Notch also say a whole bunch of like really like just straight up like Nazi shit as well?
I
Like
think that he
hating
did
Jews
at
and
some
shit?
point. He did it. I think that he'll bring it up in a little bit here, but I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff.
Let me guess, he also considers that based as well.
He also said things like,
so.
he
Oh
said,
my,
like,
no way!
Yeah, he said a lot of things. There was a lot of weird stuff there. It's so what's dumb about this is there was an interview with H3H3, and you can have your opinions on that. But they had an interview because they knew Notch. Maybe not personally, but they had met him before because they lived around the same area and they were invited to a lot of his parties or whatever. He kind of went insane from the amount of money, or at least according to them, he went insane from the amount of money that he had, because he had this big epic mansion and this whole like amazing baller lifestyle, and then by all means he didn't have anything else to do because he didn't need to do anything else, because the whole reason that Minecraft was the thing was that he just didn't want, and like he gave it, like if you've seen any documentaries, he gave Minecraft to Microsoft and to other people because it was causing him too much stress. It was becoming too much of a business to him. So when he tried to do things like scrolls and other stuff and all that other stuff failed, I definitely think that what he said was just so bad. Why would you call it based about like just genuinely insulting people?
I feel like at this point, even AndyPants himself knows that it's kind of too late for him to turn back and actually go like, you see, all that racist stuff that I said was a joke. You know, me acting like a dipshit was just a joke. It was just for goofs. Why aren't you laughing? Please ignore the pointy hat, white-robed people in my fucking closet right now, but it was just a joke, guys.
Yeah, so I think we are going to get into that next bit that you brought up earlier in this section here.
And here's the wild thing. Notch was saying this junk like 7 years ahead of the curve. Only within the past year or two have these takes become socially acceptable. But Notch is a hero because he was calling this junk out back in 2017.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! Yeah. He fucking portrays him as a fucking crusader. When, again, whenever people like... here's the thing. Whenever I see people unironically portraying themselves as like Crusader or like their biggest heroes as Crusaders, I can't laugh because historically the Crusades fucking failed.
Yeah, majority of the Crusades failed. Well, that's different because he doesn't portray himself as a Crusader as his personality. He just has the helmet.
He's just a knight.
Yeah, he just has the helmet because it's his branding. It's a branding thing.
That, and of
Triggered
course,
by the
well, his
truth
entire
bombs
thing
he
is
was
Dark Souls and
dropping.
whatnot, so...
GQ said, the creator of Minecraft tweeted some dumb stuff about race. A beta male tweeted this at him. But then falling into that, I'm saying the more mature thing is leaving at that, or if we are calling names, be more creative. Notch said back, sure thing, Fibidus. Somebody online commented, he seems to be using that as
My God, it's such an epic comeback. Not even trying to really back up anything. He just calls them a feminist and calls it a day. Wow, so
by the way,
awesome. Of course he would be championing this shit because Jesus fucking Christ. I think someone said this in my server a little bit ago, or maybe it was in another server, but like it feels like within this year, it almost feels like 2016 just never really fucking ended. 2016 just carried over into this.
Yeah, I was thinking that. This year just feels like 2016 over again, and I fucking hate it.
So, in 2017, Notch dared to tweet this, it's okay to be white. Wild that this is a controversial thing to say in today's climate. Even recently in 2023, the dude is still a legend. Somebody said, I noticed a rise in
dude, he's racist, but he's still a legend. That's why I love
flagpole down just in case. Trans rights matter. Black lives matter. Notch said back, there we go. That should fix it. Well, the Notch back.
I want to point something out about that. That was C418 that he was replying to.
I was just about to say that. That is literally the composer for like most of Minecraft's
and they used to have a very good working relationship together. That's how far and bad Notch has fallen down this. Just so everyone is aware.
Yeah, Notch has fallen so far down that one of his best friends even wants nothing to do with him.
Can I just say something? Notch is a cunt.
A little bit.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Like I said, if Notch were to fall into a pit tomorrow morning and never find his way out again, yeah, I wouldn't shed a single tear. Let the man rot for all I care.
Anyway.
Clash was coming. You can't be this honest and drop this many truth bombs and not piss off the blue hairs at Microsoft. Pink News reports, anti-trans Minecraft creator Marcus Notch Pearson removed from game. Newsweek reported, Minecraft creator Marcus Notch Pearson says trans women aren't women. We live in a culture where you dare not call out mental illness. Mental illness must be encouraged and celebrated, and Notch refused to play ball.
Listen, okay, I feel like I just need to pause right here. We do, in fact, call out mental illness. This video right here is a severe mental illness that we like to call
mental retardation.
We like to call this a special case of derangement syndrome because, well, at this point, since it's not even netting you as many views as it used to, you continue to talk about it because it's the only thing that keeps you somewhat relevant.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to skip to the next section because he's not going to... oh, wait. Oh, no. So they scrub the references to Minecraft there. He goes into talking about this, telling the truth. He does bring up the whole German thing, but like I think this screenshot kind of pulls what he thinks of it. So he says he doesn't support the garbage of the German thing that the German soldiers thing that he kind of agreed with. He says he's only agreeing with his tweets posted on posted in this video, meaning that yes,
so basically
he is a
he's
bad
agreeing
person,
with this.
and I agree with a lot of the bad takes that he has, but I don't agree with all of his bad takes, because some of them are This next section is on the intro one for Tripwire. So again, I skipped about, I think, a minute-ish. So because nothing more was really needed to be said about Notch.
Interactive with Alan Wilson in Roswell, Georgia in 2005. These guys had entered a competition called Make Something Unreal, sponsored by NVIDIA, and won top prize with their game submission, Red Orchestra Ostfront 41-45. It was an ultra-realistic and gritty World War II shooter incorporating things like bullet drop for the first time. Tripwire also released a sequel to Red Orchestra and also a DLC that became its own game called Rising Storm and Rising Storm 2. Tripwire really put themselves on the map, though, in 2009 when they created Killing Floor, a co-op zombie shooter. Killing Floor came out around the
summer.
At the bottom.
You said Muslim community. I thought you said...
Wait, hang on. Is he... Wow, he didn't even use like a fucking video downloader. How lazy can you get?
He literally is just like, again, you probably see it better in the full video, or like the actual video on YouTube, but he does have at the bottom of the bar sometimes the red bar where he was actually scrolling through. You can kind of see it in one specific part. But it's just really funny to point that out.
Time is Left 4 Dead and Call of Duty Zombies, and it's very much a product of that time. The only difference is Killing Floor is focused simply on the hordes and hordes of creatures coming after you, upgrading between rounds, and then facing a boss in each mission area. Killing Floor 1 sold 3 million copies, and Killing Floor 2 sold 8 million copies in 2016. Killing Floor 3 is still in development. So you'd think that a base studio like this wouldn't have too many of the blue hairs who hate themselves there, but you'd be wrong. One sunny afternoon, CEO John Gibson goes online and tweets this to his personal Twitter account. Proud of #US Supreme Court affirming the Texas law banning abortion for babies with a heartbeat. As an entertainer, I don't get political often, yet with so many vocal peers on the other side of this issue, I felt it was important to go on the record as a pro-life game developer. Now let me remind you, tons of game developers share their leftist opinions all the time. They celebrated Biden winning in the 2020 election. They celebrated Trump's assassination attempt. They hate on Trump constantly. But the people who hate themselves are nothing if not hypocrites. Rules for me and not for thee.
See,
yeah, that's a bit ironic. I feel like in this case, it's a nice case of, something about stones and houses as well.
Stones and glass houses, yeah.
It's...
I wanted to pause on this one because this can literally just describe everything that he's been doing this entire time when he's been trying to make his anti-work thing like that.
In fact, this could literally just apply to like his entire group that he's trying to cater to at this point. Mm-hmm. It's literally just a constant case of rules for thee but not for me.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of
we can sex up all of our women in order for us to, get our Gooner games up and functioning. But no. No, that's not okay. It's not. Guys, don't do that. Don't do that. What are you talking about?
Don't do what? You kind
of fucking I don't know, just saying. It's kind of funny because I've seen a couple of tweets going around of people kind of doing the same thing with the male characters and whatnot, and these kinds of people get angry at that for whatever reason when that's kind of exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, it's the same thing both ways. But the thing with the whole rules for me, not for me thing, I think that this can be applied to a lot of the whole extremist views, especially now on the internet age, where you see for example, the what I brought up earlier. And probably in another video, whenever this one gets posted, when that one PlayStation fanboy who was for PlayStation for years tried Xbox for the first time and said, hey, I don't actually hate this thing, and there's actually some things that are really cool that Xbox is doing that I, as a consumer, appreciate. And then got completely shit on by, the people that once agreed with him and once liked his content. How is that not hypocritical? And not stupid that he goes out and enjoys the other side and can say, hey, this actually has it. There have been so many people that have been not only canceled in that regards in the gaming microsphere, but also in the bigger sphere of just general politics of all. There have been feminists who have decided to then go out and look at the other side for a change and then realized, oh shit, I'm too extreme for something. If you've ever seen Red Pill or heard of the documentary Red Pill, that one is on, I think, the men's rights movement, and it was made by a feminist or a former feminist who went out to do a thing on I think it was abortion or some sort of or something completely different. But then she went and was I no longer agree with a lot of the feminist extreme views because the other side also has some fairly decent views that I agree with.
Shipwright Studios was a partner of Tripwire, and they had this to say in response. While your politics are your own, the moment you make them a matter of public discourse, you entangle all of those working for and with you. Isn't it interesting because leftists do that all the time and nobody calls them out for it? They go on, we know it is difficult for employees to speak up or act out in these scenarios, and they may not feel comfortable to speak their minds. Game developers constantly share their disgusting, degenerate politics, but one conservative does it. Yeah. Oh gosh, the world has ended. After this tweet, John Gibson was ousted from the company he spent 17 years building by people who are so obsessed with murdering babies they can't handle the thought of being called out for it. But guys,
again,
I don't think that's the case. I think the case is that
those babies
kind of
are about as developed as you as a fucking person, you absolute buffoon.
But I also feel like it's not an obsession with murdering babies. It's more of an obsession of, just having the fucking option. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, you could teleport this man probably back to the Satanic Panic when people were talking about how Dungeons and Dragons was like a gateway to worshiping Satan, and he would fit in perfectly. Because this is some of the most batshit insane garbage I've ever fucking heard.
All right, I think for the sake of time, because we're getting into the 30-minute mark, and it's going to be ass to edit. We can kind of skip past this because there's nothing else that he really says about the Tripwire guy because he was ousted from the company, and that's unfortunate. The next developer we're going to be talking about, again, I'm skipping about a minute just for the sake of the video. We're going to be talking about Scott Cawthon, and this is going to be a very weird
boy, I'm going to have a lot of words to talk about because I actually followed along with what was going on.
I have not seen the last 2 sections, so this is going to be all new for me going forward.
Best ideas are often conservatives. Scott Cawthon is one of those people, and he created a little video game called Five Nights at Freddy's. This game pretty much created the template for modern horror video games and is one of the most viewed horror games of all time on Twitch. The series has spawned books, merch, video games, and even a movie. The net worth of the Five Nights at Freddy's IP has to be in the billions of dollars. But then in 2021, Scott Cawthon did that which cannot be done. He had an independent thought. He gave money to the person who would make America great, Donald Trump. The backlash of the broken LGBTQ community was so bad that the dude was forced to completely retire from gaming. He said this in a statement.
Okay, I agree that he should not have been completely canceled or like sent death threats.
Yeah,
like that's where I tend to draw the line.
I agree with that, and I agreed with it back then. And the thing is that I don't think he like quit making video games. What actually happened here is that he's like taken a little bit more of a hands-off approach, because the thing is that he literally admitted himself he didn't actually know what he was really giving his money to, and he just like trusted the guy because, you know, he had a fucking presidential campaign and he really knows the guy on like what the guy actually believes in, and didn't actually realize that like 90% of his audience would probably basically be annihilated. Well, I don't agree that he should have been entirely fucking canceled, in which, to be honest, he really technically wasn't. He's still, like, you know, doing his own thing and probably still kind of working on, like, Five Nights at Freddy's related stuff. Like, he's still working on the books. Like, he's still at least working on those. There's still new books coming out and whatnot. Like, he's still working on those, so it's not like he's completely gone from the fucking industry or anything like that. He still exists. He's still out there working on his passion project and whatnot, and people are still consuming it because, well, he now understands, hey, yeah, maybe I should try to do a little bit more research next time. It was literally just a case of, oh,
I did an oopsie,
I fucked up.
And then
That's fine.
Yeah, I did an oopsie, and that's it. And I think that we'll get into we can listen to the full statement here in this section. So,
I'm a Republican. I'm a Christian. I'm pro-life. I believe in God. I also believe in equality and in science and in common sense. Despite what some may say, all of those things can go together. That's not an apology or promise to change. It's the way it's always been. See, Scott Cawthon did that thing you're never allowed to do. He had an independent thought. He saw the programmed narrative of the mainstream goy slop media, and he said no. And the left hates nothing more than independent thought. They follow each other.
That is the most disingenuous summary of, like, you can see why I wanted to talk about this. Like,
yeah,
even
again,
with the intro,
that's not at all what happened.
Yeah, even with the intro,
it wasn't
that was
him
such
going
a
against the grain or anything. What the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, it was such a disingenuous, like, reading at the beginning in the intro that I'm like, this needs to be up, like, as everything, because this is dumb. And
yeah,
I hate this as well.
This isn't just a bad retelling. That's just a straight up incorrect retelling of things.
Yeah, and
this is just straight up wrong.
All that I hear now, whenever I hear him starting to talk, is just buzzword, 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 negative buzzword, negative buzzword, negative. Like, dude, you're adding nothing. You're not retelling the story correctly, and it's just bad.
Keep checking with each other on what everyone thinks. It truly is a hive mind which demands ideological purity. Anybody having an original thought must be silenced and banned forever. Number 4, Oculus CEO Palmer Luckey.
Oh boy, this one I forgot was there. I think I know the story he's going to do on this one.
Now, this one I know significantly less about.
Yeah, so
I'll lend most of the floor to you.
So just as for anyone else in the audience who may or may not know who the hell Palmer Luckey is, he's essentially just like the dude who created Oculus. That's pretty much his own thing. And he's still contributing to the VR industry, just in his own way. He just sold Oculus and left the company, from what I can tell, because he didn't agree with a lot of the things. And in fact, one of the interesting things is that a lot of the original people that were at Oculus before it was bought out by Meta are now not really there anymore. or at least they've distanced themselves from it, as far as I can tell.
I have a Quest 2, and I often marvel at how far VR has come since the 2000s. I remember trying on VR headsets in arcades 20 years ago, and I remember the Nintendo Virtual Boy, and nothing ever worked very well. But in 2012, a dude named Palmer Luckey started Oculus. Oh, and he's this idiot on the cover of Time. What has set Oculus apart was a few key technologies it developed, like the cameras on the headset to detect room scale and place you correctly in your environment. Not even to mention miniaturization and the entire headset being small and wearable. Up until 2018 or so, you had to have a huge PC to even run VR stuff. Palmer has been at the center of all of this innovation, and in 2014, Mark Zuckerberg bought Oculus from him for $2 billion. 2 years later, in 2016, it came out that Palmer had done the unforgivable. He had an independent thought. He supported Donald Trump. Never mind that Facebook constantly rams its degenerate goy slop and LGBTQ mental illness to its platform. Oh no, somebody had a conservative opinion. We can't have that. It's hard to feel too bad for Palmer because the dude is sitting on $2 billion cash, but it does show the utter hypocrisy and the utter inability of game developers in the United States to think critically or allow people to have differing opinions.
Okay, there's probably... Wait, that's all he has to say about that? Okay, I feel like one thing that I could just very easily say is that entire rant, very fucking rich coming from someone who quite literally only decided to hop onto the bandwagon of just being a fucking dipshit just because the fact that his video acting like a fucking dipshit netted him like millions of views, and now he's just mindlessly doing that just like everybody else. Basically what I'm saying is that it's funny that he's talking about, you know, people not having an original thought, when the idea of his entire channel is him not having an original thought.
Anyway, but so again, this goes back to what we were talking about with Scott Cawthon, where Scott made a donation to someone who was supporting Trump, and then he also made a donation to someone who was supporting Trump. So, like, what? Right? Like, that's...
Yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, and...
I honestly thought that he was going to talk about the whole, like, headset that kills you thing.
You just die in fucking Bone Lab, and then just somebody finds you 12 days later.
Anyway.
He hasn't picked up his phone lately. What happened? I got hit in the head with a crowbar. Fucking Bone Lab and died.
Yeah, it's really stupid. But like he made it just because he could and because it was just funny. But I thought he was gonna talk about him getting canceled for that, not him just donating to Trump for whatever reason. I also like, again, how he tries to be very hip with the kids, saying that like, homie made off with $2 billion in cash. Like,
that just kind of is so cringe.
Anyway, I think that'll about do it for this episode of I Ran Into a Microphone until the cows come home. If you like what it is that I do, want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below. There'll also be links to Sanity's video, or Sanity's stream, or whatever, his channel. I'm gonna go ahead and support him for whatever reason, even though he's an idiot.
Hey.
So.
Hey!
Anyway, but yeah, with all that being said, again, thank you so much for watching. Have a happy new year and looking forward to a great 2025 and a peace.